I'm Curtis Hamilton, and this is my case study for EDL 854. What I do know about from the case study is that parents are very important resources for George Washington Middle School. George Washington Middle School is in a community that has seen a decreasing socioeconomic status in recent years, and so has led to more reliance on parents, especially from the PTA, to assist the administration in fulfilling duties at extracurricular activities in support of the school and things like that. There's not a lot of administrative assistance. It seems the principal is in charge of pretty much everything, including activity organization and making sure everything is accounted for in the bookkeeping, and also getting workers and things like that. Mr. Stevens seems to be very active within the PTA, and he's even involved in distributing some of the organization's funds. Miss Bowman, whose daughter recently won an award, and she has asked for funds to go to the nationals, and Mr. Stevens denied those PTA funds to her daughter, saying that they should be used for a more general purpose of the student population. At the last basketball game, Miss Bowman returned the bank bag, and there seems to be some discrepancy as far as there's 10 missing ticket stubs in which a note was left that said that these stubs were thrown in the trash. There was also, if that's a possibility, then there may be missing funds. What I need to know, one thing I really want to know is why Mr. Stevens was in charge of the PTA decision making. Is that a necessity? Again, as an organization separate but involved in the school, he should probably have more of an advisory role. Anyway, what I need to know in the procedures is, like, what are the past procedures when dealing with tickets that were that might have been ripped or something like that, or marked on? Is it past procedure been to throw it in the trash? Is the procedure to verify that the tickets are damaged and put them in the box or the bank bag? So again, kind of have some questions about what are the procedures as far as the school goes, or what has been the past procedures for Mr. Stevens, and has that been communicated to parents? It seems as Ms. Bowman didn't think twice about throwing them in the trash and just writing a note. And then also, what denominations bill are in the bag? Are there any bigger denominations than a 50? I didn't read any details that said that there were, but it would be nice to know if that was a thing, because if there's 100, the 50 might have been given out in change. And I'm sure Mr. Stevens didn't talk to every person coming in. Problems that I identified: there's possibly a $50 bill that is missing from the gate, as the discussion between Mr. Stevens and another state or community member stated that he gave a $50 bill. But then the one that we can verify is that there is 10 tickets that were discarded that are no longer accounted for. And what happened to those, if there should have been money for those, that is the biggest issue within this. And then the other issue that I identified is Mr. Stevens is overly involved in the PTA's decisions, specifically appropriating funds for the organization, when normally he would be more in an advisory role. My plan of action: the first thing I would do is review the bank bag again, ensure that the accuracy, and ensuring that larger bills were not in there that could have been that's what the 50 was used for, to break. And then also, within our procedures, was there another person at the gate that could verify that the tickets were discarded? And then if not, go to step 3, in which, if verification was not possible, then call Ms. Bowman, and maybe again with a lot of making sure there is no blame being placed. Just talk to her about the process of what happened to the tickets, ensuring her I don't have the impression that there's anything wrong, but that I'm trying to count the accuracy of the accounting, and that I needed to know some verifications on what she did with the tickets. If anybody else was also there accounting for those tickets, as we need to put them in the bookkeeping. After that, if the problem is still not resolved, to go to step 4, report to district administration the situation. Even though at this point it may be an oversight mess up in which we should have had some other oversight to make sure these tickets weren't thrown away. I need to make sure the district administration is aware of this issue so it doesn't get brought to them by somebody else. And then also get their advice on how to handle it further on if there are certain district policies that we need to follow. If advised by the district, meet with Ms. Bowman again and maybe press the issue a little more. Again, we don't want to blame somebody because we really don't have a lot of evidence in this situation, but really the question is just to find where the 10 tickets are. There is no blame and no wrongdoing at this point because we don't have a lot of evidence. We don't have anybody that would have been able to verify at the gatekeep any of the $50 bill or the tickets and where they were. If we did, then we could verify the story or the note, and the bookkeeping would actually add up. Then after this, we need to rework our ticket procedure to ensure that individuals are aware that they need to be accountable for all the tickets because it does cause a accounting problem if they do not. Even if they throw them away, we need to make sure. Or they shouldn't throw them away. They should put them back in the ticket box, even if they're damaged, to make sure we can account for those tickets and there is no fraud happening. And then the last thing is, as the principal, recuse from decision making on the PTA. Clear yourself of that and the organization as far as actually being the only sole individual to make a decision, especially on a student on an individual student, as that could come back to create a bad relationship between the principal and the individual student and the parents in which that were very involved. How did my actions promote the success of all students? I think a big part of my actions is don't place immediate blame, look for facts, look for ways of accounting for the tickets, accounting for the money. Again, obviously there was some oversight on the procedures unless there was somebody else running the gate with Miss Bowman, which is an unknown. It's always, again, good best practice to have another person when it's dealing with these type of situations. And so again, I think by not putting blame, I'm keeping a very good relationship with the PTA, with the individual involved, other individuals that may become involved. And again, that working relationship is extremely important to the school because of our lack of resources at this time. I think by allowing the PTA to make decisions on the money, you do not create that kind of bad image that a parent may have against the principal. You can keep that to the organization, and the organization gets to decide how they spend their funds on individuals or on students. Again, more as an advisory role is more appropriate. And again, the biggest thing is retain a working relationship with individuals in the community. Promotes the success of all students. In my debrief, I felt like my first thought was do not overreact. Again, look for facts. There was not a lot of facts that could point to the individual actually committing some kind of a fraud or an issue in this. A mistake may have been made by not setting up a better system of accountability, having somebody double checking, advising parents beforehand that we have to account for all money and tickets. It seems as if there was kind of some careless action with the tickets, and some of that might have just been not being very informed on how we have to account for those. There was really no concrete evidence to place blame in this situation. Some of my unresolved issues include how do we go about it at this point? We don't have evidence to really blame the individual, and if we start placing blame without evidence, then that could create a rift between the PTA, the community. Even though it is only one individual, that is always something you would rather not have. And so we need to look for further facts, things like that. Is there any other evidence that could help explain what happened? You know, some of the questions I asked earlier: money in the bank bag. Is there any bigger denominations? Is there a possibility we could find the tickets? Because that seems to be the biggest issue as far as accounting goes. And then, what will the district's response be? Am I required to press this issue? Is it something we can resolve with this little of facts, or is it something we just have to investigate even further and ensure that our tickets are mounting up or are equaling up? How did I promote the academic success of all students? Again, I feel like keeping a working relationship with parents in the community is important, especially in the school, because of the importance of the parents and their support to the school because of our lack of assistance. And then also not creating an environment of blame in which maybe a bad attitude from the parent goes down to the student, which then they bring to school, creating a bad image within the student population towards the school, the principal, and others. And again, by removing a principal from the decision making of the PTA, again, it benefits everybody as they are making an independent decision from the school about students and where that money is spent. And that is the end of my case study for EDL 854. Thank you for watching.